What's up? My name is Eric Butler. This channel is called Report and Opine. I am back, and here I have a couple clips from the ABC7 News Bay Area Instagram account because this is apparently what passes for news in the Bay Area. I assume they ran these segments on television and thought they were so great they needed to share it with a wider social media audience, and this is just how stupid they think we all are. They captioned this post, "Could 2023 finally be the year that COVID-19 becomes more of a thing of the past rather than a threat of the present?" A threat according to who? The corrupt news media or the political regime? You guys ruined people's lives. You destroyed businesses all for the safety and then come out and say, oh, well, maybe it's over 3 years later, more than 3 years later? Give me a break. And they expect people to buy it. We also saw another recent post from the New York Post saying that the WHO guy, Tedros or whatever his name is, says, oh, well, there's going to be another one. It's going to be even deadlier. And they really expect us to jump again, right? I mean, how many times are you going to cry wolf? So I guess to their credit, they're saying, well, maybe it's going to finally be over, even though we know it's not. And they're going to foist something else upon us to try to make people scared and divide entire families, divide friends, divide you on anything, right? We saw it with, obviously, at one point they said the MAGA hat was a Klan hood. And then if you didn't protest for George Floyd, then you were a bigot, even though you were told to stay indoors the prior, 2 or 3 months. None of it ever made any sense, and they're still going with it, and they expect us to believe it. They expect us to look to them, or maybe they don't expect us to look to them. And that's why they've become so extreme, is because they have to do anything to get eyes on it. I don't know what's happening. I do know that they think we're stupid and we're not going for it anymore. You can look at the comments. Most people can see clear through this, right? So just give it a rest, come up with a new strategy, get back to the dungeon and come up with a plan to make some good content because nobody's buying this anymore. The post says, Bay Area doctor believes COVID-19 to become endemic this year. This is something that for years, people were banned and suspended and cut off social media for saying things that didn't fit the narrative. And now the narrative has changed just a little bit. They can kind of take their foot off the gas a tiny, tiny bit because, we're going to move on to something else. We're going to do climate change. We're going to do Transformers. We're going to do something else to make sure that we divide these people along lines of things that we completely made up and foisted on them, right? We made this up. We made you think about this every day. We put the death ticker on the television. We told the kids that they could be whatever it is they want to be, right? We made all of that stuff. We put all of that stuff in their head. And if you didn't believe it, you were the bad guy. Give it a rest. It's over. We're not doing it anymore. And this, of course, in a roundabout way, has a lot to do with Donald Trump. But that's a different story, and I digress. The post is captioned, "Could 2023 finally be the year that COVID-19 becomes more of a thing of the past rather than a threat of the present?" Okay. As health emergencies end across the country, as they finally end 3 years later, right? It was an emergency for 3 years. I've never heard of an emergency that lasts for 3 years. As health emergencies end across the country and in the Bay Area, UCSF infectious diseases expert Dr. Peter Chin Hong can finally say with confidence that society can collectively breathe a maskless sigh of relief. So they thought for this entire time you were still wearing a mask, waiting for them to tell you that it's okay to take it off. Let's watch what this weirdo UCSF, and this again, before we get into the video, these are the same people that would tell you to follow the science, wear a mask, get the shot, get 2 shots, wear 2 masks, wear goggles, right? Do all of that stuff. But then when it actually comes down to the science, the biological truths of a man and a woman, don't follow that. Throw that out the window. Just listen to us right now, because we know that we have control of you if you can believe both of these things that are in direct conflict with each other. And if your cognitive dissonance is so high that you'll believe both of these things, we have complete control. But moving on.
As health emergencies end across the country and in the Bay Area, infectious diseases experts finally say with confidence that we could collectively breathe a maskless sigh of relief.
I think this is a critical year because This is the year when COVID will become endemic.
UCSF infectious diseases expert Dr. Peter Chin-Hong says COVID is becoming predictable thanks to the amount of immunity in society, as well as tools like treatment and vaccines. He believes yearly vaccines may only be needed by the most vulnerable and people over 65.
We as a society have
Oh, no way. No way. Did anybody imagine that? Could anybody imagine that? Did anybody see that coming? That maybe everybody didn't need it? Wow, that's groundbreaking stuff. This guy he is a doctor. He's shown me, as you know, I believe him now. He must be a doctor, because nobody else would ever say anything that clever.
to be prepared for as much as 100,000 to 250,000 people a year dying of those vulnerable groups. But in general, for your average person, it will probably fizzle out.
Dr. Chin-Hong says COVID-19 was likely a once-in-a-century sort of threat, but that does not rule out the risk of other pandemics.
Once-in-a-century sort of threat, which is basically in direct contradiction, as per usual, with the story from the New York Post of the WHO guy, Tedros, whatever his name is, I don't even know, that weirdo-looking guy who says, oh, there's going to be another. I mean, Bill Gates said it too. Oh, there's going to be another one. But this guy from San Francisco, however corrupted he might be, says, oh, a once-in-a-lifetime thing. So which is it? Is it coming up next year for the election, or is it once in a lifetime for everybody on the planet right now? Which is it, bro? These people are all so disgusting. They're despicable.
In the future. He says conditions like the population growing and expanding into areas where disease-carrying animals live, climate change, and globalization make other threats possible.
Climate change, of course. Why not roll that in there naturally? Everything has to do with climate change.
All of these reasons make it very likely that we'll get a public health threat in our lifetime. But whether or not it's going to be the same magnitude as a COVID-19, it's probably less likely. But
So there's going to be another one, but whether we make as big a deal out of it is not quite as likely. So we might not put you quite through the same ringer, but it's going to happen again at a lesser level. Most likely next year for the election. I don't know, allegedly.
But it will still be something that will cause some concern.
And that's where public health departments come in.
It is exactly the work of a local public health department to not just be thinking about the last threat and what's making our community ill right now, but what could be coming around the corner.
Santa Clara County Deputy Public Health Officer Dr. Sarah Rudman told us that
how are we going to maintain control once this is over? I mean, people are kind of starting to see that maybe it's not quite as bad as we sold them. So how are we going to get control of all these people once everybody knows it wasn't what we sold? So we got to come up with something.
the county is in the recovery stage of the pandemic, assessing what happened and where they could improve. She cited structural inequities and a lack of investment in public health as reasons.
Structural inequities and, of course, climate change. So they just roll all of their talking points, all of their weirdo, control-driven agendas into one disgusting establishment burrito.
Reasons why people were vulnerable. As the next threat looms, the county is working to be more prepared.
That we have the investment in technology, in science, and in workforce and community partnerships that we'll need for whatever's next.
But for now, reason for most to feel safe living life once again.
Disgusting. Completely despicable. And there's another clip that I want to play. But first, this is the top comment for good reason. I don't know, whatever this handle is. She says, or maybe it's a dude, I don't know. We all know it was made in a lab. It's all coming out. It was used as a device to change the trajectory of society. It also showed how many people were willing to submit to authority for something with a low mortality rate. And that's putting it very nicely. That's putting it very nicely and very level-headed. I would say something much more extreme than that would get me kicked off YouTube. Many of y'all look foolish wearing those masks still today. I believe COVID was either a Chinese bioweapon or American. China should be held accountable for the pandemic. That's racist. If I were president, all of our debts to them would be waived off, and the foot of the eagle would stand on the neck of the dragon. Okay. Not bad, right? Pretty level-headed. I would be far more extreme about that because I don't even think, let me not get in trouble. And this one's pretty good too. Go away, you COVID Nazis. It's already over. If you travel throughout the state, you'll see that most people have removed the mask, even though the crazy left still wears them with 30 to 40% of the freaks walking into my favorite Costco, right? And this is a Bay Area account. Presumably, most of their followers live in the Bay or are from the Bay, like myself. And when these people can see through it, you know that you sort of overplayed the hand. And just to really to drive the point home as to how despicable, and this Rona aside, how despicable the news media is, especially this local chapter of ABC7, they have this post here about San Francisco's first drag laureate, which nobody even knows what that means. The comments have been turned off. It only has 145 likes in 5 days. So this is the agenda that they are trying to drive home to everybody, but they don't even have the courage to leave the comments on. And in 5 whole days of this being online, it only has 145 likes for a major mainstream news outlet. And this interview, this clip, is being hosted by this Reggie Wacky guy who I did a whole video on. He's very clearly gay, right? Not that there's anything wrong with that, of course, shout out Seinfeld, but does anybody think for one split second this guy is going to sit down and say, honestly, I could kind of see the other side to this story. I can kind of see why maybe somebody wouldn't be on board with this. I can kind of understand where they're coming from. I can kind of understand that there's an opposite side to this coin. Absolutely not. He is going to paint anybody who disagrees with every single word he says as a bigot and a homophobe and a racist and all the other things in the book. And this, of course, is what passes for news in the Bay Area.
Congratulations on the drag laureate position. How does it feel?
Thank you. It's
Drag laureate position in San Francisco. This is a city that declared a state of emergency in one neighborhood because of the drug overdoses and the open air drug market. This is a city where the mayor said, I think the drugs are being funneled into the city mostly by Honduran immigrants, and they called her racist. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. You don't have to talk about the car break-ins, signs everywhere. Anywhere you drive your car in San Francisco, there's going to be a sign that says, don't leave valuables in the car because you are now the problem. It's not the criminals. We can't stop them, right? It's not the smash and grabs. It's not the people pooping the needles all over the street. None of that. We got to make sure that this weirdo man dressed up as a woman is going to get a no-show job in San Francisco.
amazing. I feel so honored to get to be the first drag laureate.
When the city announced that they were doing this program, did you jump at this chance? Did you think, I don't know?
It felt a little bit like it was tailor-made for me when looking at the criteria of what it took to be the drag laureate.
Okay. This is how backwards everything has become, is that not only does the city actually care about this, they want you to care about it, but they've also got the news media covering this and ignoring actual stories, right? They're going to talk about Banco, whatever, this guy that got put down by a security guard. We're all so angry about that because, of course, that was a transformer activist, right? And that was bigotry, and we all need to fight. And the one thing that I will say, though, is that the mob in San Francisco has the attention span of a gnat. That Banco, whatever story, that's gone, right? They were so mad about that. We demand justice. And a couple days goes by, and they don't care anymore. Same thing with Jordan Neely. They don't care anymore because they are the ones being manipulated, arguably, by the media, and they are the stupid ones that the media still has their claws in. Regular people can see clear through it, and they're like, didn't you say the complete opposite thing last week, and now you want me to believe this, right? Taking it all the way back to the beginning of Rona when you couldn't even leave the house until George Floyd died, and then you were supposed to go out and burn something, right? So it's all completely backwards. This is more important. They're just now telling you that it's safe to breathe the air outside without a mask. This is how stupid they think we are.
It really did track for what I have been doing for the last 10 years in San Francisco.
So we know what a poet laureate is, right? What is a drag laureate?
Someone who is fabulous. I think a drag laureate is many things, but it's both being fabulous and colorful, just like San Francisco is, but it's also creating bridges in the different communities, both in San Francisco and nationally.
Now, you already have a job.
I've got like 3.
One of them is running a highly successful club here in San Francisco, which, isn't for anyone, but it specifically caters to the LGBTQIA community.
Yeah, it's for anyone. Yeah. I'm sure you're gonna see a bunch of regular dudes who just left the baseball game going in here with their family or going in here with their buddies to grab a beer. Give me a break, bro. You know exactly who this is for. They're trying to pretend that it's for everybody. It's not for everybody. San Francisco is the king of the pseudo acceptance. If you do not fall in line with every single one of their talking points, they will beat you figuratively into submission and sometimes physically into submission, and then pretend that it's all about acceptance. I mean, it's just through the roof.
And this has been something you've been working on for a long time, but it's been yours for just the past few years.
Yes, I bought out my business partners just before the pandemic, 1 week before the pandemic hit. But we made it through, and we've come back stronger. We changed, we pivoted, and I feel like we've really created almost Oasis 2.0. And Oasis is, I just want to remind you, the largest drag-owned club in the United States.
Is it really? I didn't know that.
It is.
You're a business owner, which I'm sure was a part of the reason why you were chosen for this. Why else do you think that you got this?
Well, I think that I have been a strong community member for a long time. I've also created a nonprofit queer arts organization called Oasis Arts. I've opened up a film studio with help with the San Francisco Film Commission and the Rainham Foundation. So we're doing a lot of things.
A lot of things, presumably, to help indoctrinate you and your children, right? It's not just the kids. They want to normalize all this stuff for regular people and make sure that you know that they are in charge right now. That's why you see with the Dodgers, when they flip-flop on inviting that weirdo drag burlesque team or whatever, right? They want you to know that they are in charge. And if you don't comply, then you obviously will be the bad guy. So we can shove this in your face all day. We can have months, we can have days, we can have remembrance, history, all of that stuff. And then when somebody disagrees with one thing, they say, well, why do you care? You're such a bigot. It's not hurting anybody. It's like, you guys were the ones constantly having parties and parades
that are really making space for the large group that is the LGBTQ plus community in the Bay Area.
A lot of people will now be looking to you as a symbol of San Francisco drag, but also
as a symbol. Dude, this guy is pathetic.
Drag across the country, which has come under particular attack this year.
Yes, and what I find so interesting and so heartwarming is that San Francisco created this position, the drag laureate position, before the drag community became under attack in the United States. So
yeah, well, you weren't under attack until you started literally targeting kids, right? Because we know that a man dressed up as a woman reading books to kids is amazing and safe, and it should be applauded. But a man dressed up as a man reading books to kids in that same library would not go over well. Or a woman dressed up like a woman reading books to kids at that very same library wouldn't go over as well. But for some reason, when you switch them, it has to be celebrated. And that is precisely when you started becoming quote unquote under attack, when you started targeting children. That's what happened.
So I feel like it really is a testament to where San Francisco puts the drag community in our kind of culture in San Francisco. And the fact that this was created before that really is a testament. Because here, I don't know what it is about San Francisco, but the drag community is such an important community, not just for entertainment, but also for fundraising and having a political voice. We had Jose Seria with the court system, with the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. So there is a history of drag in a sort of a higher place in San Francisco.
Yeah, okay. It's all absolute nonsense, but the point here is that this particular news organization and this guy, Reggie Aki, who I did do an entire video on, go ahead and check that out, they think you're stupid. So 3 years later, they're going to come out and say, oh, you can take your mask off, it's safe. This weirdo doctor out in San Francisco says it's okay. There's probably going to be another one, but for right now, we'll let you breathe easy. Until we come back and say that you should be scared again, you're good. It's like most people, even in San Francisco, were doing that, right? And then for them to say that we got this drag laureate, nobody knows what you're doing. It's just wasteful government spending, and they don't even have the heart to leave the comments on, and it's getting very little likes after a week online. But this is how stupid they think you are. And I don't know. I mean, they're so proud and they're so controlled that they will never say, all right, maybe we took it a little bit too far. Let's pull back and see if we can get some more people who are actually going to trust us if we rework this thing a little bit. Kind of like CNN is failing to do right now, but that's a different story. Anyways, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe.